We'll do the Arabic as we do. قال المؤلف رحمه الله رضي الله عنه وعنكم نفعنا به وبكم وإياكم وأمان المغفرة القاطع عنها وهي ما تسمعه على لسان طائفة من المغترين من قولهم إن الله يغفر الذنوب جميعا وهو غني عنا وعن أعمالنا وخزائنه مملوءة بالخير ورحمته وسعت كل شيء مع إصرارهم على فعل المعاصي وترك الأعمال الصالحة كأنهم يقولون بلسان أحوالهم إن الطاعات لا تنفع وإن المعاصي لا تضر وهذا بهتان عظيم. So he says on the bottom of 108, beware, and 113 was it? And 113 for the other book. Beware of those hopes for forgiveness which will sever you therefrom. Is everyone on that page? Yeah? These you hear from some deluded people who say that God forgives all sins, that He has no need of us and our works, that His treasures are full of bounty and His mercy envelops everything, but who then persist in committing sins and neglecting good works, as though they were in effect saying that acts of obedience are of no benefit and sins bring no harm. This is a formidable falsehood. So the Imam, he talks about the state of people who are in ghafla. They're in neglect. Of who? They're in neglect of Allah. Right? They don't really understand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So rather than finding out, they just do their own thing, which is a popular thing to do these days because everyone's got an opinion about everything. We're all experts, or pseudo-experts, or Facebook experts, or social media experts, and our comments and our statements about any particular subject. Well, they're on the internet. They've got to mean something. They've got to have some significance. So we think anyway. All right. So he says those people, they're deluded because what they say is the verse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Inna Allah yaghfiru dhunuba jami'an, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives all sins completely. And it's true. It's true that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does forgive all sins. And then He stands, and this is what they also say, that He stands in no need of us and our works. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ghani subhanahu wa ta'ala, without need. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no need for anything. Not space, not time, not air, not anything subhanahu wa ta'ala. So He doesn't need our deeds. Who needs the deeds? Don't all scream at me at once. Who needs the deeds? We do. The deeds are for us, they're not for Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our salat doesn't increase Him any, and our sins don't decrease Him any subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's far above that. He's exalted above that subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they say that His treasures are full of bounty and His mercy envelops everything. Is that all true? 100%. What do you reckon? Yes. No? Yeah? Yeah? Alright. So it's true. Mahak, everything that we're reading there is true, is it not? Okay? And then he says, but then they persist in committing sins and neglecting good works, as though they were in effect saying that acts of obedience are of no benefit and sins bring no harm. So they're in a deluded state. They're in a state of trying to say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or trying to say to themselves that this is how Allah works. But that's not how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works, even though the things they're saying are true. But as we said, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is conditional. It's conditional upon our deeds. Let me give you another example. An example of someone that you love. Think of someone that you love. Don't have to tell me who it is. Just think of a person. Alright? Think of someone that you love. Right? Someone that's dear to your heart that you love. And you ring them, they don't answer. You message them on WhatsApp because you can see the ticks, Mahak. And you see the ticks and they don't respond. Right? And then you invite them over. They say they're coming and they don't come. You lend them money and they say they'll pay you back and they never pay you back. You speak to someone about them and they say, oh, that person was saying bad things about you. How long is that love going to last? Hey, everyone's like, come on, tell me, don't be shy. How long is the love going to last? How long? Hey, a week or two. Even shorter, probably. I'd say that 1 or 2 disses from a friend of ours, and that's it. Defriend them, unfriend them, whatever it is. Get rid of them. Is that mahak wala la? Is that the case or not? If someone, even someone we've known for years and years and years does one little thing that upsets us, then that's it. We question that relationship. We question that friendship. Okay? So, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثُلُ الْأَعْلَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine that someone's saying, yeah, I love Allah. Allah's mercy is great. Allah's, He's all things are in His control. He has all the treasures. All His mercy belongs. And then they do nothing for it. Or when the opposite, they start sinning, they start sinning, they start sinning, they start sinning, they keep sinning, and then still saying, like the person, oh, that person, so and so is my friend, so and so is my friend, so I love that person. No, it's not going to cut it. It's not going to wash. So how can the person who doesn't worship Allah continue to say, yes, I'm a servant of Allah, that I'm deserving of the rahmah of Allah? In the same example that we gave, a similar example, how can someone say that they love you when they're treating you in that fashion when na'udhu billahi subhanahu wa ta'ala? So that's a similar sort of example so we can understand it. It says, وَقَالَ اللَّهُ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ وَقَالَ تَعَالَى وَلِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ لِيَجْزِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا بِمَا عَمِلُوا وَيَجْزِيَ الَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا بِالْحُسْنَى وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم الكيس من دان نفسه وعمل لما بعد الموت والعاجز من تبع نفسه هواها وتمنى على الله الأماني. So then we look at the verses in the Qur'an. It says, Allah the Exalted has said, anyone who does an atom's weight of good will see it, and anyone who does an atom's weight of evil will see it. And to God belongs all that is in the heavens and the earth, that He may reward those who did wrong with what they did, and reward those who did well with goodness. And the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, the shrewd doesn't actually say man, it says al-qayyisu. So I'm a bit against that gender language personally, as you can probably know. So it doesn't say the shrewd man, it says the shrewd person, or the shrewd one, if you want to be specific. The one who is shrewd, it's not limited, but we'll just stay with what's in the text, but you get what I'm saying. Or we can even change it around. The shrewd woman is she who accuses herself and works for that which follows death, and the incompetent is she who follows her soul's passions and harbours illusory hopes regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Imam is putting these 2 verses and the hadith in there to illustrate to us the wrong thoughts and the wrong actions and the wrong dealings when a'udhu billahi subhanahu wa ta'ala of those people. It says that. It's clear. It says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, has anyone got any doubt in the Qur'an? No. No one's got doubt in the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, subhanahu wa, whoever does mithqala dharra, so the size of an atom's weight of good, they'll find it with Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, in this life and the next. In this life and the next. Because the believer is rewarded in this life and also rewarded in the next. And when the disbeliever is punished, so to speak, maybe even tormented in this life and the next. This life is a mirror of the next life. And وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. Whoever does an atom's weight. How much does an atom weigh?
Depends which atom.
Just keep it simple. Is it heavy or light?
It has no weight.
It has no weight, basically. It has no weight. So how small as a good thing it might be, and don't forget that good thing has to be with which intention? For Allah. It can't be good for the sake of good. Okay? Doing good is great. Awesome. But to get rewards from Allah, it can't be good because, this is the right thing to do. If you tie it to Allah, this is the right thing to do by Allah, Allah will be happy. This is the right thing to avoid because Allah will be upset if I did that thing. Yes, that's where the rewards are. So we need to be careful in our intentions, even brushing our teeth. If we have the right intention when we brush our teeth, we get rewards because the Prophet used to brush his teeth alayhi salatu wasalam, all the time. Allah is happy with that because He sent the Prophet of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, to show us how to brush our teeth, when to brush our teeth, Why? To brush our teeth. So if we do it with that intention, even if it's one of those electric toothbrushes, now it's got Bluetooth. I went today, I don't know why, but to get a toothbrush, and I saw a toothbrush, believe it or not, it's got Bluetooth. I was like, you can't be serious. And I was like, why? I asked the person something. They said, oh, because you can like check it on your phone. I'm not joking, it's true. I just gimmicks. Alright? So even to do it with the Bluetooth, for example, with the right intention, sunnah. And to pay however much, it was like $300 by the way. Wow, for a toothbrush. I was thinking miswaks cost like $1, you know, and this is like $300. You know, so even the money you paid with the intention to keep your mouth clean and do sunnah, guess what? You find it with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the intention's got to be straight. It's not so I can go and brag with my friends. I don't understand the whole thing, how you'd like, maybe they walk past your phone and the Bluetooth connects to their toothbrush. I don't know what's going on there, but you know, it's not so you can brag that I got a $300, you know, toothbrush and it's got Bluetooth. It's so that you can follow the sunnah of the Prophet of Allah, alayhi salatu wasalam, to make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happy. Please Allah. Alright, so the good has to be tied to that. And the bad, bina'udhu billah azza wa jal, follows our nafs. And then it says, وَلِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ يَجْزِي الَّذِينَ. Look, in other words, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create? What's the English saying? To God belongs all that is in the heavens and the earth, and that He may reward those who did wrong with what they did, and reward those who did good with goodness. Like, this is deep. This is heavy duty. Allah's basically saying to us that the reason that the heaven and earth is created, in other words, that's all the cosmoses, that's all the nebulas. I'm not really sure what a nebula is, but it's like a collection. You always see them on places, they look beautiful, subhanAllah. It's like a bunch of stars, like a galaxy.
It's about to be a star.
It's about to be a star. They're beautiful, subhanAllah. If you have a look at them, they're extraordinary, that they exist, and there's billions and billions and billions and billions of them. So all the way out to past Pluto and the other galaxies and wherever else, all that was created what? Right, to give the people who do bad, to punish them, and to give the people who do good, al-husna. And al-husna is greater than good. That's one of the names of Allah Azza wa Jal. To give us the good things. To give us glad tidings in this life. To make us feel happy. Allah wants us to be happy. Even though we're not, because we're just wanting things that we don't really need. If you really want to, that's the dunya. That's why we're not happy. Because we want things we don't need. We want to marry the guy with pecs and long hair and, you know, whatever, he's got a goatee or the goatee's not in anymore. Whatever it is, right? And he's got money and he's educated and he's a sheikh and whatever, he's from the best family, he's from a noble family. Are we still looking about princes, or those days are over? Yeah, so some of us want princes as well, and the brother also wants, you know, she's got to be dropped dead and she's got to, like, you know, she's got to be able to squat whatever, how many kilos, and, you know, and she's got to drive cars and like footy, and as well she's got to be feminine, and she's got to, and then we want that and we can't find it, so what happens? We're not happy, we get depressed, we get, you know, we're not happy, we're not pleased. We're not pleased. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set up these things for us, set up first and foremost the qadr of Allah, the decree of Allah. And we as Muslims, we await that decree. There's no cause and effect for us. Except for the prophetic deeds. So if we do something that's prophetic, for example, like what's going on in Burma and places like that. So what's the prophetic action for us? What can we do? Other than making dua, we should, if we've got $5, $2, $1, 50 cents, if it's for Allah Azza wa Jal, is to give it. And not let anyone know about it. So that's the good thing about electronic giving these days, you know. No one knows except the people who do it, and they probably don't even know you anyway. That's يَطْفَأُ الصَّدَقَةُ السِّرِّ تَطْفَأُ غَضَبَ الرَّبِّ subhanahu wa ta'ala. That the secret giving of sadaqah, it appeases the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or it even extinguishes the wrath of Allah Azza wa Jal. That's the cause and effect that we look at. But it's not like, I work, I'm going to be rich. Let's go to India, go to Africa, go to these places where people work 18 hours a day, the farmers, and they're the world's poorest people. And if it was like that, then women would be the world's richest people, because they probably work a lot more than men do. And so but they're not. They're the world's poorest people. So for us, the qadr, that keeps us relaxed. That should keep us cool, calm and collected. Because we know that when Allah decrees it, it's going to happen. And then we know that no matter what we do, No matter how many people we have with us. That's amwal wa awlad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about it in the Qur'an. Amwal, money, resources, and awlad is armies and people and populace and those that follow. No matter how many, can they stop the hurricane? They ran away because it's too powerful. The earthquake, the tsunami, even the heat, the cold, can't. So we accept those things. So that's the state of the believer. The believer is constantly searching for that rahmah of Allah Azza wa Jal. And that keeps the believer cool, calm and collected. Whatever happened, it's for a reason. Alright, so this is one of my most favourite hadith, a hadith of the Prophet of Allah. He says, قال رسول الله عليه الصلاة والسلام الكيس من دان نفسه وعمل لما بعد الموت. He says, the shrewd one, the shrewd individual. Now we don't like shrewd people, do we? We want someone who's easygoing, we want someone who's cool, and we want someone who, isn't too difficult. But the believer is like that. The believer is like that, is easygoing in terms of dealing with people. But in terms of their mu'amala with Allah and their mu'amala they're dealing with themselves, they're shrewd. What does shrewd mean? Kayyis, and also has the connotation of being good. Have you ever heard that word in Arabic, if anyone speaks Arabic? Kayyis, هذا كويس. He's good. Kasa. Right? So, has that connotation of being crafty. We want to be around smart people, don't we? We want to be around people. And al-fatinul qayyis is another one that says al-fatinul qayyis, the intelligent person. So it's not just about being intelligent. Many people are intelligent, but they're dopey, so to speak, for use of a different word. Like when you go to deal with them, they just don't have their act together. They're always making mistakes. They've got not much life experience, but they're intelligent. Okay? But al-qayyis is both. Al-fatinul qayyis, the intelligent person, and the shrewd. Believer's not dumb. If a person is a believer, they're not stupid. And even there's another hadith that said, the believer only falls into a hole once. Because once they fall into a hole, they know there's a hole there, they go around it. Or they build something to cover it. Or they put up a sign. Or flashlights. Or witches' hats. Or whatever it is, so people and themselves don't fall back. Or they draw a map. Or they GPS it on their phone. Or whatever they do. To make sure they don't fall into that hole ever again. So the believer is intelligent. Because the believer is connected to Allah Azza wa Jal. And they're shrewd in their dealings with Allah. How are they shrewd? They accuse themselves. Right? So what that means, going back to our example of our loved one, right? Not to say that we should let people treat us like that, but just so we can keep the continuity in the example. That our loved one comes late, we give him an excuse, or maybe I didn't let them know the right time. Maybe something, or if we're ever dealing with someone where there's a misunderstanding, they accuse themselves. When something goes wrong, they don't say, oh Allah! Ya Allah! They say, oh, maybe it's my dealing. Maybe I didn't have the right intention. Maybe because I didn't wake up on time for Fajr that this happened. Or maybe because today was Jummah and Sunnah to make 80 salawat on the Prophet of Allah after Asr, I didn't do it, then Allah's making up for that. Because when Allah makes something difficult for us, Allah's making up for the deficiency in our worship, for the khalal in our ibadah. So they don't look at, in that sense, others and Allah, they look at themselves. Why? Why do you think a person does that? That's what's called self-development. Isn't it a big thing these days? It's massive. It's multi, even maybe if not billion, but certainly $1 million industry. How to become better. How to improve daily. How to improve on a regular basis. How to become a better person. How to become a better business person. How to become a better leader. How to become a better worker. How to become a better father, mother, husband, wife, daughter, whatever it might be. Whatever. There's all things that help, self-help as they call them, whatever they might be. Prophet ﷺ gave us the answer. Why are you concerned with everybody else? What's so and so doing? Did they make their dhikr after the prayer? Maybe what do we care about what everyone else is doing in that regard? Okay? And works for that which follows death. In other words, the hereafter. So if there's a conversation about cars and things, okay, it's nice to have a nice car. If you have the money, alhamdulillah, it's a blessing. Great. But it's not a thing that you talk about what car would you have if you had $1 million or 10 million. $1 million doesn't do enough anymore. Cars cost more than that. So if you had $1 million, $100 million, what kind of car would you... What kind of useless talk is that? What kind of useless pursuit is that? Or where would you buy the house? Or what kind of house would you build or whatever? Unless it was like this. Unless it was like, if I had $100 million, then I'd build an orphanage. So I can put people in, or whatever, a hostel for people who have problems with their spouses, or, a refuge, or I build a school, or then that's worth talking about. Because if your intention is true, Allah will build one for you. And when you face Allah, when you look in your accounts, it'll be there. As if you did it, just with the intention. Bi-idhnillah azza wa jal. So, that's why they're working for the hereafter, that person. Because they're intelligent. They know that what gets built here, we're limited. Not all of us in this room are going to become millionaires. Maybe one of us may. But not all of us are going to. So if we're all striving for it, most of us are going to be disappointed. Not all of us are going to become, probably none of us, Olympic athletes or professional sports people or actors or famous, Grammy Award winners or whatever, Oscar Award winners or whatever. So it's a useless pursuit to worry about that and to think about it. But what isn't a useless pursuit is to look out for the hereafter. Because the hereafter is waiting for us, and those rewards will multiply and multiply and multiply and multiply and multiply. And they'll be waiting for us, inshallah azza wa jal. And this is the other side of it. This is why I like this hadith. And the incompetent, the ajiz, useless, in other words, useless. The one who's useless. Sorry to, but that's just so you can get the point across, Why would you want to be like that person? They say, he follows his soul's passions. And in Arabic, taba'a nafsa, hawaha. So what does that basically mean? Impulses. Sorry, the sisters, they fall into that category a lot more than the brothers. It's what I don't feel like it. It's all about my feelings and my emotions. Take it easy, akhti. It's all right. It's okay. It's good to have emotions. It's good to have emotions because they're a warning sign. It's the alarm, the alarm bell ringing. Let's say it's your alarm clock ringing. Okay, your phone, you've got the phone and it's got 4 alarms because you're terrible at waking up in the morning, and you put it down and it rings. When it rings and you wake up and you come to your senses. Or you just wake up in a panic and start yelling, throwing things, turn on the shower, put on the tea kettle, put the toast in the toaster, half dressed, shoes flying everywhere. Which one are we? No one does that. Only a person who's either extremely, extremely late or other issues that we don't need to get into. All right, what do? We wake up, we come to our senses, yeah or not? Okay, what time is it? Okay, I've got to go. What day is it? What have I got on today? All right, what do I have to do first in the morning? Yeah? That's what your emotions are. Your emotions aren't to be followed. I said, I'm looking over at this side of the room a lot more. Not to say we're not like that, because we're the opposite. We're like, nah, man, we don't have emotions, blokes. We're like, I'm too tough, I'm too manly, I'm too, macho. They use that word anymore, eh? Macho. Too macho for emotions. We'll talk about that on a different day. But the hadith is about that. So yeah, have emotions, but be in tune with your emotions. Don't let your emotions run your life. Because guess what you'll be doing? Around and around and around. And I guarantee you, that if you were to keep a journal and your emotions are like that, right, what's the day, the 20-something, 15, right? Look at 15 September next year, it'll be exactly the same emotions. There'll be no progress. There'll be no progress. And have a look at the I'm not talking from psychologically speaking, when they do the test, that's what they find. The rest of development. We're going around and 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 around in circles. Why? Because that's what our emotions do. They pop up here, then we want to do this and we want to do that, and then we don't, and we go, and it's just go back to the person that's confused. First and the third person, they're confused. So I don't like to put fear because we live in a positive world. Everything's about positivity. So we have to give our deen positively. Otherwise people will be like, nah, it's too much. Why is this guy always talking about that? And the Prophet said anyway, bashiru wala tunaffiru, that give people glad tidings and don't drive people away. But for ourselves, if we're in that state that our emotions have overcome us, we need to bring the fear in. We need to bring the fear, because if our impulses are dictating to us how we think and how we act and how we dress, and when we get up, and when we sleep, and when we eat, and who we like, and who we don't like, and where we go, and where we don't go, we're in trouble. We're in trouble because no system, right? Does the sun rise when it wants? Does it or not? It rises exactly on time every single day. And it sets on time every single day. What about the moon? Predictable. What about even the stars, Jupiter and planets and the stars, they align at everyone knows. What about the season? We just finished winter. Is it coming to summer now? Spring. وَلَا لَيْلُ سَابِقُ النَّهَارِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it in the Qur'an. The night doesn't precede day. Doesn't come before, like, beat day. That's it. They're all in order. كُلٌّ فِي فَلَقٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. They're all in a perfect order. Oh, except me. Hold on. Can't you see that my parents were hard on me? So, that's what happened to me, man. My parents were hard. They didn't teach me. And then this person hurt my feelings. And then this person didn't respect me. And then I didn't get what I wanted. And then I was going to be a top student at school, but whatever happened and I couldn't be a top student. Then I went to university and, whatever, then I had to go work and it's a sense of entitlement. That's now, because of these difficulties that I faced in my life, rather than saying, Alhamdulillah, that was from Allah, is Allah had to teach me in these things, or the worst one on the sisters, the guy, he led me on. He said he was going to marry me and whatever, and he didn't. And I'm hurt, and it's okay to be hurt. You should be hurt. If something that is supposed to hurt you should be hurt. You shouldn't just think, oh no. Even the Prophet said, he said, the person who doesn't get angry is a hmar, he said it, the Prophet of Allah is a donkey. But the person who acts out their anger is a shaitan. And that might be outwardly or inwardly. That might be inwardly as well. That's it. I'm dirty on the world. I'm upset with everybody. Everyone owes me something. And unfortunately in the West, we have a huge sense of entitlement. Kids, especially to their parents, whoa. Kids to their parents, just recently someone was telling me, that this is what happened with their husband and their father, and he's got some mental issues now. I was like, okay, what are you going to do? They said, we want to leave him. I was like, are you serious? Does he beat you? No. Was he trying hard to be a good father? Yeah. Did he fail? Yeah. But was he trying hard? Yeah. Did he work and support you for 20 odd years? Yeah. Are you scared of him? No. Then what? Oh, we just want to leave him. Well, wait a minute. He supported you guys for 20 odd years. Well, I bet, the kids, we have a sense of entitlement. And that sense of entitlement is making us crazy, for use of a better word, mentally irregular, or whatever you want to call it. What entitlement do we have? What? And we're believers. So if Allah wanted to destroy us, all of us today, what are we going to say? Ya Allah, look, but I was hurt. Ya Allah, I didn't get to do what I wanted to do. Ya Allah, my parents, the other time I met him, the guy is 45 years, my parents never taught me Qur'an. Bro, you're 45 years of age. All right, they didn't teach you up to the age of 15, 16, 20, 25, 30, 35. All right, when are you going to take responsibility for yourself? And that's what we're doing without realizing it. Without realizing it. And we're Muslims, so we're even more entitled, because I say, La ilaha illallah, man. Muhammad Rasulullah. That's it, man. I'm a Muslim. What are you talking about? Everything's for me. Everything. I'm going to Jannah. So we're even worse when A'udhu Billahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because not only, like the person we read Surah Al-Kahf every single Friday, the guy with the garden, he's like, I'm better than you. I've got more kids, more money. And then his mate says to him, come on, man, take it easy. What do you mean? Like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can destroy your garden, nothing will grow on it. He's like, nah, man, I'm gonna get, my garden's gonna be the best garden, I'm gonna be better than you. And then when I die, I'm gonna even get better than that. Allah sends the storm, destroys his garden, and he's like, oh man, I wish I didn't act that way. I wish I didn't act that way. So that's what we got to take control of. And the way to take control of your emotions is to own them. Don't blame somebody else. It's not so-and-so's fault that happened to you. Mahak, what's the first part of the hadith? What's the first part of the hadith? Right, and? What is it?
Accuses himself.
Right, accuses himself or herself. Not someone else. It's not the dean's fault at the school that, I didn't pass the exam. It's my fault. I didn't study hard enough. Simple as that. I wasn't committed. I wasn't focused. Even though I might have studied. I used to do that when I was at uni. I used to put my books in the study lounge. Everyone's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm studying. They're like, yeah. I said, yeah, my books are in the study lounge. They're studying in the study lounge. So, yeah, they're studying, but what? I'm not focused. I'm not committed. I haven't fully committed to it. How can I expect to be successful in whatever it may be if I'm not fully committed to it? How can I expect to be successful in life if I'm not committed to it? If it's always someone else's fault. So you have to own my emotions. And that doesn't mean you don't get upset. Do get upset. Everybody gets upset. Everybody gets sad. Everybody gets angry. We're human beings. But how do I deal with it? How do I deal with that upset? How do I deal with those emotions? Or when I'm happy, it's the same thing. People do it all the time. That's why they have a cooling off period when you sign contracts. Because the salesman goes, yeah, no worries, this is the best phone, it's this and that, and whatever, and it's Bluetooth link up to your toothbrush and whatever else. All right? And then you go ahead because you're so happy, you sign the contract, and later on you think about it, you're like, that's way expensive. I found a better deal. So they have a cooling off period, 5 days or 7 days where you can stop the contract. Because even when you're happy, what do you do and say when you're happy? Sometimes we say stupid things to other people when we're happy. So it works both. So it doesn't mean that we don't have emotions. Yeah, we do have emotions. But it means that our emotions are the alarm clock. Wait a minute, something's going on. Okay, there's an emotion. Someone's making me feel bad. Whatever, I'm feeling bad about the situation. All right, now come to my senses. Don't go swimming in your emotions. Don't let your impulses overtake you. They're an alarm. Just let it ring for a bit. I find it embarrassing when my alarm's ringing and the neighbour's probably going to hear it. And it's embarrassing when the thing just ringing. Your phone, it's ringing. Or someone next door, their phone, you're hearing it like, what's the matter with this person? Are they on drugs or something? They didn't wake up? Or what's going on? What's the story? So it's embarrassing when our phone rings. Imagine being enveloped in our own emotions for years. For years, it's going around and when older blood, it's a reality for a lot of us. Alright, so the alarm goes off. What emotion am I feeling? I'm angry. Okay, anger is a type of... Why am I feeling anger? Am I frustrated? Am I tired? Has someone taken my rights? Why? What? Rationalize it. Rationalize your emotion and then deal with it accordingly. If you have to get help, get help. There's no aib in that. There's no shame in getting help. We all need help for everything. So that's that first part. That's the person who is what? She's helpless. Incompetent. I don't want to say it because it's nasty. Right? It's incompetent. So imagine the person who follows their emotions, they're incompetent. Why? They're useless. They can't do anything. They can't do anything because they're always going around at work, they're staring at the computer. Or they're like looking on YouTube or social, because they can't work, they're incompetent. Driving their car, you see it all the time, the lights have gone green, they're still sitting there. In their relationships, they're hopeless when older believe. You got to converse. Why? Because they're just overwhelmed by their emotions, overwhelmed by their whims and fancies and impulses. This is why I love this hadith, because I think it defines us as a people at the moment and who we are. It says, وَاتَّمَنَّ عَلَى اللَّهِ الْأَمَانِي. And this is us Muslims. We say, oh, don't worry, Allah's going to fix it up. Atrik ala Allah, mashallah, inshallah, biiznillah. That's what we always say. No, Allah, inshallah. Even like the memes that go on the Facebook, for non-Muslims, what does inshallah mean? Is don't worry, it's never going to happen. Everyone, they know. They just say it, they'll leave it on Allah. Don't worry about it, Unfortunately, the person what? Wasted their life. They wasted their life. Why? Why? Right? They're overwhelmed and overcome by their emotions. Okay? Not that we do have them. We do upset. We cry. We should cry. Every day we should cry. Whether we're happy or whether we're sad, we should cry to Allah if we can. And even if we get hurt by someone, hey, it's all right to cry. It's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all right to be upset. Okay, but how do we deal with that? Do we just let that, perpetuate our whole lives and direct our whole lives that someone upset me yesterday or the day before or last week, or they wrote a nasty comment or didn't like my post or whatever it is? how long is it going to go on for? All right, so is that clear? I hope it is, because we spent a lot of time on it. But if it's not, please let me know so we can deal. Because that, like I said, that's one of my most favourite hadith, a hadith of the Prophet of Allah, because it really sums up the time we live in. It really sums up who we are as people. It really sums up who we act. It really sums up even our ibadah. Is it clear? Yeah? So next week when I ask, you're all going to know it, eh? Mahak? Or not? No. Some of you will. The rest of you are just like, no, not going to show up even. All right. It says, وَلَوْ أَنَّكَ قُلْتَ لِوَاحِدٍ مِنْ هَؤُلَاءِ الْمَغْرُورِينَ اقعد عن الكسب والتجارة والله تعالى يأتيك برزقك لسخر منك وقال ما رأينا شيئا يجيء إلا بالسعي والطلب بل بالكد والنصب مع أن الله سبحانه وتعالى قد تكفل له بالدنيا ولم يتكفل له بالآخرة فهل ذلك إلا انعكاس وانتكاس على أم الرأس. So he says, so if you say to one of these deluded people, inshallah that's none of us, bi'idhnillah azza wa jal, that he should refrain from earning in commerce, trade and earning money, and God the Exalted will send him his provision, he will ridicule you and say, you're an idiot, what are you talking about? And reply that he never saw anything come. This is an important point. He never saw anything come except when sought and pursued through exertion, mostly with toil and exertion. Nevertheless, so the Imam's talking now, nevertheless, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guaranteed his share of the world for him, but not the hereafter. Is this anything but an inversion of the truth and standing upside down on one's own head? So, in other words, if you were to say to this person that, the first person was saying, Allah Ghafur Rahim, don't worry, Allah will put us in Jannah, we don't have to worry about it, Allah is generous, etc., etc. If you were to say, all right man, you're not doing any good deeds because you believe that's the case. They're like, yeah, of course, I'll do whatever, don't worry about it. Okay, stop working. Don't work. Don't go to work tomorrow. Allah will provide you with your provision. They'll say, what? Are you serious, man? You're an idiot. What are you talking about? Don't work. They'll say, there's nothing I've come across in life except that one has to strive and struggle to achieve it. It's impossible. So the Imam then says, well, if that's the case, what about with Allah? How can we say that about everything in life, but Allah's guaranteed our sustenance in life? 50,000 years before any one of us was born, our sustenance was written bil-lawh al-mahfuz, in the protected tablet. It was written how much we're going to earn, how many breaths we're going to take, how many times our eyes are going to blink, how many hairs are going to grow on our hair or in our body. It's all written. How many times our heart's going to beat, how many thoughts we're going to have in our life, how long our nails are going to be from the time we're born till the time we die. It's all written. How many leaves are on the trees and how they fall and when they fall and where they fall when they fall. All written. Fi lawhin mahfuz, in a protected tablet. So it's all written for this world, but the hereafter, it's not written. So how can that person think that to be the case? That, we've got to strive in this world to get, but we don't have to strive in the next world to get. It says, وَقَالَ الْحَسَنُ الْبَصْرِي رَحِمَهُ اللَّهِ. Is that clear? Is any pretty straightforward, eh?
Yeah.
قال حسن البصري رحمه الله سبحانه وتعالى إن أمان المغفرة لقد لعبت بأقوام حتى خرجوا من الدنيا مفاليس، يعني من الأعمال الصالحة. وقال رحمه الله سبحانه وتعالى إن المؤمن جمع إحسانا وخوفا وإن المنافق جمع إساءة وأمنا فالمؤمن لا يصبح إلا خائفا ولا يمسي إلا خائفا يعمل ويقول لعلي أنجو والمنافق يترك العمل ويقول سواد الناس كثير وسوف يغفر لي. انتهى. وقد كان الأنبياء والأولياء مع كمال معرفتهم بالله وحسن ظنهم به وصلاح أعمالهم وقلة ذنوبهم أو عدمها بالكلية في غاية من الخوف والإشفاق. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أولئك الذين هدى الله فبهداهم اقتده. So, it says Hasan al-Basri, may Allah Azza wa Jal have mercy on him, on the bottom of the page on 109, and the other page for the others. He says, may God have mercy on him. He said, hopes for forgiveness have deceived some people until they left the world as bankrupts, that is, devoid of good works. And he has said, may Allah have mercy on him, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. He says, may God have mercy, the believer conjoins excellent behavior with security. No, that's wrong. The believer conjoins excellent behavior with fear, while the hypocrite conjoins vile behavior with security. For the believer wakes up apprehensive and ends his day apprehensive. He works and says, I shall not be saved, I shall not be saved. And the hypocrite abandons work and says, most people are like this, I will be forgiven. The prophets and the saints, perfect as they were in their knowledge of God, their good opinions of Him, good works, and scarcity or total lack of sins, were nonetheless exceedingly fearful and apprehensive. They are those whom God has guided, so follow their guidance. So this is the last paragraph for this. Hassan al-Basri, who's a tabi'i, he didn't live too long after the Prophet of Allah. They say he's one of the best or the best tabi'i, depending on who you hear from, says that. So people's hopes for forgiveness, saying, oh, don't worry, if I do this, Allah will forgive me. Don't worry, if I do that, Allah will forgive me. Don't worry, that's okay, Allah will forgive me. Allah will forgive me. I'm just going to do whatever, I'm just going to do whatever. It let them leave this world without any good deeds, because they were just going back to the hadith of the Prophet of Allah ﷺ, that they're hoping is in Allah, but they've got nothing to show Allah. They've got no pass. They've got no credit. They've got no cash for the hereafter, no good deeds. So Allah's going to say, what do you want me to do? You've got nothing. How do you want me to help you? You haven't done anything for yourself. And the believer conjoins excellent behavior with fear. So that's all, like when we pray, the first thing we say, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and we say, Astaghfirullah. That whatever deficiency we had in our prayer, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives that deficiency. So we do our good deeds, and then we're khashya. So fear isn't, as we said, just about that paralyzing fear. It's a khashya, it's a consciousness of Allah Azza wa Jal, that's tied with apprehension as well. But the munafiq, the hypocrite, says they do whatever they want. They don't care. They're vile, they're angry, they swear, they carry on, they steal, they cheat, they lie, and they say, oh, don't worry, Allah's most forgiving, He'll take care of everything. So the believer wakes apprehensive and ends his day or her day apprehensive. And that should even be more the case. The Prophet of Allah, he said at the end of times, يُمْسِي الْمُؤْمِنُ كَافِرًا وَيُمْسِي الْمُؤْمِنُ مُسْلِمًا. The believer will sleep as a believer and wake up as a disbeliever. And the disbeliever will wake up as a believer and sleep a disbeliever and wake up as a believer. In other words, Iman disappears like that at these times. So we should even be more. Has any one of us even thought? We always think about losing our phone. We lose our minds if we lose our phone. What about if we lost our Iman? What about if we lost our Deen? Have we ever made dua to Allah? Allah, keep our Deen, keep our Iman, keep us strong, keep us steadfast. Don't take it away from us, because what would happen to us? And he says that there's a typo there. So he says for the believer wakes up apprehensive and ends his day apprehensive. He works and says. And in Arabic here it says, لَعَلِّي أَنْجُو. So it's not, I shall not be saved. He's hoping to, or she's hoping to be saved. So they're not relying on their deeds. Does that make sense? So they do good deeds, and they don't say, Ya Allah, I'm praying. That's it, I'm guaranteed. They say they pray, and they do good deeds, they give charity, and they say, Ya Allah, I'm still hoping in your mercy. Because as we said, no one enters Jannah except what? Through the mercy. Now, Christian?
Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
You do the bare minimum, like you do your 5 pillars, right? You do your prayers on time, you do the zakat and everything like that. Is that enough to get to the bottom of Jannah?
Yeah, there's an Arabi, a better when he came and he said, Ya Rasulullah, what do I need to do? And he said, pray the 5 times prayer and fasting and he said, is that all? Is there anything more that I need to do? And the Prophet of Allah said, no. And then the Bedouin left, and then the Prophet of Allah said, if he's truthful in what he's saying, then yeah, he'll enter Jannah.
So, even if you're not the best person.
Well, you'd hopefully, if you be praying and you're focusing, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that in the salata tanhi an al-fahsha'i wal-munkar wal-baghi. So that when we pray and we're sincere in our prayer, it'll take us away from evil deeds and lewdness and baghi, which means to transgression. It'll take us away from those things, our prayer. So that sincerity that we spoke about at the beginning, that's the key. If we have that in whatever we do, it'll permeate in all facets of our life. It'll take over our life, inshallah, and we'll would be good? No good?
I don't know, like I do the file, but I don't see a difference. I don't see a difference.
Well, depending on when we're doing it and how we're doing it, and our connection to it. Now I'll give you an example. The good old study in my books in the study lounge, okay? Even though I'm studying and I'm reading, if I'm not really into it, how much am I going to actually take from it?
I love to pray.
I'm not saying you don't. I'm not saying you don't. Right? So the question is our connection to that thing. And in regards to how much we are connected, that's how much we'll benefit from it. So even though we might feel that we're not progressing, if we're staying away from haram, that means it's called the thing about salah al-zahir and salah al-batin. That the righteousness of our outward is what we're looking for in the first instance. So outwardly we're righteous. In other words, we don't rob people, we don't steal, we don't backbite, we don't do all these things. Okay, so that's the thing that our salat should be giving us first, and then secondarily, as that develops, and we get a closer sila connection with Allah, then internally we should change. Because if we're internally we think we're good, it's impossible to be internally good and externally not. It doesn't work that way. Our outwardness is a reflection of our inwardness, even in the way we dress. If I'm wearing shorts and runners, that means I'm off to exercise, or someone's a sports person or whatever. Someone's wearing a three-piece suit and a bow tie, obviously the professor at uni or something like that. So it's a reflection. So those things take time, and then there's other things that we're doing in our lives as well that can affect. And really, our state of mind and our emotional state that we spoke about is probably the preeminent and predominant thing. If we're not dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way that He's supposed to be dealt with, then we're always going to feel like we're getting tripped up. We're always going to feel like we're falling short of the mark. We're always going to feel like we're never achieving our goals. And then that affects us when a'udhu billahi azza wa jal internally. And then that way that our internal state, even though our external state might be right, we're not harming people and we're not doing bad things, inshallah, but internally we're not developing. So that's what can happen. And so we need to be able to have we have to have a one-on-one relationship with Allah. Salat is for everybody. But where's my one-on-one relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And I have to understand Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to be able to have that relationship. So I have to know who He is. And part of what Imam Haddad's talking about is knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing how He operates subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing what He likes, knowing what brings His wrath, and then implementing that in our lives as much as we possibly can. Still 50-50 or?
No.
All right. No, tafaddal.
Can we attain that through understanding what we are reciting?
Definitely. The Qur'an is probably the biggest way to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the direct communication of Allah to us. It's a miracle. It's kalam Allah al-azali. In other words, it's not a creation, the Qur'an. It's actually a miracle in front of us. And the more we comprehend that, and the more we're connected to that miracle, because a miracle it's an extraordinary event, and it's above comprehension. It's ajiz. In other words, if we try and understand, no one can fully understand the Qur'an. It's impossible. Overwhelming and defeating in that sense that we can't get it all. Even recitation-wise, no matter how good the reciters are, the Qurra are, they always make mistakes because it's ghalib ghayra maghlub. You can't have it's a miracle. So that's the key. If you can read it, and then you can read the tafsir, the different exegesis and what they say about it, the explanations. If you get a fatah on that, that's the best fatah to get.
I like as well reading the works of say Imam al-Haddad on the inner dimensions of the prayer and the inner dimensions of the other.
Certainly, that thing gives us reality, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for external and internal reality. And so, if you read the books of Imam Ghazali, Imam Haddad, that's why we're reading this book, so we can get that internal reality. Sha'rani, these type of people. If we read their books, then because they've been there and done that, then they give us the kind of essence of it, and it's easier for us to swallow, and it's an easier trip. It's kind of like a guidebook already, like when you put Google Maps and it tells you go left, go right. It's a bit like that, but this is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? Naam.
Because if a believer believes in Allah and then dies upon Tawheed, he can enter paradise without having to do any good deeds. Will the motivation of him to do good deeds be that if he does a lot of haram, he might even lose that Tawheed?
So going back to it, right? the iman that we have is reflective of our deeds. The greater our deeds are on the right way, done the right way, the higher our iman will be. The stronger our iman is, closer to Allah will be. The closer to Allah we are in this life, the closer we are to Allah in the next life. Now the believer that becomes a believer and then dies, that's the person that's automatically guaranteed Jannah. Right? Just because we say La ilaha illallah, it doesn't mean that person is not going to go to the hellfire. Because the hellfire, in the 50,000 years that's the Day of Judgment, Muslims go there. And guess what happens when the Muslims go there? The non-Muslims say, look at you, what a loser. You know, look, you fasted and you prayed and whatever, or if the person didn't, they say, you believed in Allah, and look, you're here with us. And that's part of the chastisement. You know, the big tawaghit, the big oppressors and tyrants, right? They're there and they're giving the Muslim a hard time. But if a person, and the last person to enter Jannah, as we talked about it the last couple of times as well, is a Muslim, is a believer. Their one deed is La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. But the question is, you know, do you want to go through that chastisement? Do you want your brain to boil, feet put in something hot, and your tongue to be stretched, or your, you know, just talking about it, it's scary. You know, or to be boiled in pus, or to eat zakum, or to go to the place where the one part 7 levels of Jahannam, that it's so cold that it's like hot. And what happens? The person in hellfire, their skin, the epidermis is where we actually feel things. Below that, we don't feel. The skin gets put on and off and on and off until they just keep burning, and when just torment. I don't know, man. If someone had a lighter and I said, put your hand there for 5 seconds, you'd be like, nah, dude, I don't want to do that. You know, it's a bit too much. So what about the hellfire? So what about the chastisement, the torment that's there? We don't even like to think about it, let alone, you know, try and express it in our lives. Yeah? All right, so he says, he does good deeds, and he says, la'alli, maybe, possibly, I hope to be saved. Okay, it's not what it says there. I don't know, in the new edition, does it say the same thing? I shall not be saved, I shall not be saved? Yeah? Well, it's not. It's I hope to be saved. La'alli. La'alli is the Arabic word that means possibly, hopefully. I hope that's going to be the case. Okay? And the hypocrite abandons work and says, most people are like this, I'll be forgiven. Isn't that us today? We compare ourselves to just everyone else. The believer compares themselves to the righteous people, to the Sahaba, to the Tabi'een, to the awliya, to the ulama, and says, no matter how much good deeds I've got, I need to do more. I need to do more. And then the disbeliever doesn't. They say, everyone's like that, it's all good, you know. And then they say, don't worry, Allah will take care of it. And they feel secure in the machinations of Allah. And the prophets and the saints, perfect as they were in the knowledge of God, their good opinions of Him, their good works, and the scarcity or total lack of sins, were nonetheless exceedingly fearful and apprehensive. He says, al-khawf wal-ishfaq. So that's the apprehension. It's that, what if Allah, like Sayyidina Umar, anhu, he was one of the 10 promised Jannah. When he got stabbed in the mihrab, when he was praying Imam, he was rolling around even his son came to give him a pillow. He said, get rid of the pillow. He got stabbed right in the back by Abu Lu'lu al-Majusi. You know, he stabbed him, and he's like, what's going to happen to me if Allah doesn't forgive me? Right? And it's Sayyidina Umar, anhu, Amir al-Mu'mineen. He's al-Faruq. So it doesn't mean that, you know, because we hope that Allah's going to accept our deeds, that we just, it's all good. It's all good. No worries. That's why the pious people, 6 months after Ramadan finished, we're only 3 months out, every day they'll make dua, Ya Allah, accept our Ramadan. And that's that la'alli. That's that hope that we, Allah, accept our salat, Ya Allah, accept our prayers, accept our good deeds, increase our iman, keep us firm. That's the hope. The ilhah. The constantly asking Allah, constantly asking Allah, constantly asking Allah, constantly asking Allah, accept, Ya Allah forgive, Ya Allah tajawuz, overlook our misgivings and misguidings. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.